Why have 4 Israeli football teams already taken part in European football competitions this season? Well, Israeli teams haven't always played in Europe. This footage is from the 1964 Asian Cup, Israel versus India. Israel would win the tournament and it remains their only footballing title, according to the Asian Football Confederation's website, which doesn't mention the fact that 11 teams withdrew before the tournament, meaning Israel was one of just 4 teams in the cup.
עם תום המשחק העניק נשיא המדינה מר שזר את הגביע לראש הקבוצה הישראלית נחום סטלמך.
The Palestine Football Association was established in 1928 and gained FIFA recognition the following year, but despite FIFA saying it should represent all people in Palestine, the organization and the team itself were largely Jewish settlers and British occupation forces. The team was called Mandatory Palestine and initially played with a P on their chest, but later changed their crest to an emblem of the Zionist movement.
This year, Palestine has sent a touring soccer team down under.
Now the Palestinians charge with interest.
On this tour of Australia in 1939, the team referred to by the commentator as Palestine is just the Maccabi Tel Aviv team, who are mostly Jewish settlers with 1 or 2 Arabs from the Jewish minority.
But Palestine clears.
In response to European settler domination of the Palestine Football Association, the Palestinian Arabs, who had teams dating back to at least 1909, set up their own federation in 1931, the General Palestinian Sports Association, but it never gained FIFA recognition. Palestinians would have to wait 67 years until 1998 for international recognition.
Palestine, in the news almost every day of 1947.
After the UN brutally partitioned Palestine in 1947, leading to the creation of the Israeli state, the Zionists quickly ditched the name Palestine from their football association and were allowed to continue as the Israel Football Association by FIFA without any problems. Israel joined the Asian Football Confederation in 1954, and after winning the Asian Cup in 1964, they were playing just one more Asian Cup before being voted out by majority decision following the 1967 war, which started their 57-year occupation of the whole of historic Palestine, and the 1973 Arab-Israeli War. Israel's national team, now a pariah in the Middle East, remained in football limbo for 20 years, even playing World Cup qualifiers in Australasia until Europe came to the rescue. It all started when Europe's footballing body UEFA invited Israeli clubs to play in European Cup competitions from 1991. Israel was then allowed to play their qualifiers for the 1994 World Cup in Europe. Here's the head of the Israel Football Association posing with various European football officials in 1992 and were granted full UEFA membership in 1994. One version of history tells you that European football saved the Jewish state from the anti-Semitism of its Middle Eastern neighbours, who refused to play them. But if this was the case, why did it take Europe 20 years to save them? The real answer lies in Israel's relations with Europe at the time. Many European countries considered Israel to be a semi-pariah state during the 1970s and 80s. Even British leader Margaret Thatcher, a staunch ally of the US and friend of Israel, shown here with Israeli PM Shimon Peres, supported Palestinian statehood and criticized Israel's 1982 invasion of Lebanon.
British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher today urged Israel to give Palestinians a greater role in their own affairs. Thatcher's comments came during a visit to Jerusalem.
Israel's standing in the world changed after the 1993 Oslo Accords. Capitalist Europe was confident after the collapse of the Soviet Union and integrated this new peace-loving Israel into the European Union as an associate state in 1995. And so, the almost blanket support for Israel's invasion of Gaza starts to make sense. Israel and Europe have political and economic ties through the EU, military ties through NATO and weapons contracts, and of course, cultural ties through football. And now, the same Maccabi Tel Aviv that competed under the name Palestine in 1939 have played their first game in the Europa League this season. The Israelis lost 2-1 against Portugal's Braga, whose supporters are part of a growing number of fans groups that are voicing both their anger at Israel's participation in Europe and their solidarity with Gaza.